Mr. Speaker, H.R. 5774 is designed to do two primary things. Number one, it's to prevent the federal government from re-victimizing disaster victims. Number two, it's designed to save money. In the aftermath of a disaster, we watch as countless federal agencies, the alphabet soup of federal agencies, come rushing to the aid of these disaster victims, offering everything from food assistance, housing assistance. You'll see them having organizations coming in and offering clothes, offering loans. You see all of these uncoordinated activities. Yet we have one federal agency that's responsible for disasters, and that's FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. And this FEMA, they come in, and what happens with all of these other programs, you see disjointed responses. Let me give you an example, Mr. Speaker. In the aftermath of a 2016 1,000-year flood that we had in my hometown, FEMA came in, started offering out assistance. We saw disparate aid offered to different folks. You had another recovery program come in and provided $1.7 billion. $1.7 billion, Mr. Speaker. Here we are 6 years after. 6 years after this disaster, of the $1.7 billion, less than $700 million have actually been granted to flood victims, granted to disaster victims. Mr. Speaker, I know your home state of Texas got pounded by Hurricane Harvey, in some areas experiencing 42 inches of rain in 36 hours. You have recovery and assistance programs that are disjointed among the federal agencies. They cause a bureaucracy. They actually re-victimize these people that have lost everything in these disasters. This is designed to get recovery dollars where they're needed, to expedite recovery, to save money because you're saving funds that are being spent on long-term shelters, save funds that are being spent, in some cases, approaching $300,000 to provide a trailer for someone to temporarily live in. Saving money, again, hotel rooms, and getting people back in their homes faster. We still have people from our disaster 6 years ago that have homes that have been mucked and gutted, stripped down to the studs without any additional recovery because they can't connect the dots. So as the gentlelady from the District of Columbia said, this is designed within 30 days of a disaster, estimate the impacts, provide an initial payment to where states and local governments can lead the charge in directing and prioritizing recovery dollars where they need to go. This has, importantly, it has a 5% administrative cap, 5%. Mr. Speaker, 2 years after the disaster I mentioned in my home state, we had more money that was paid to the program managers 2 years later than we had actually given to the disaster victims. These programs aren't designed to enrich contractors, to enrich program managers, to enrich people that are running these programs. These dollars are designed by Congress to get to the victims, to expedite recovery, to allow for the community, the economy to be recovered as quickly as possible. And so I want to be very clear. My co-sponsor, the co-sponsor that worked very closely with us on this legislation, Congressman Plaskett from the Virgin Islands in 2018, was incredibly affected by Hurricanes Irma and Maria, hosted us down there to see the devastation, and years later, again, still having her constituents that are adversely impacted, unable to recover, and requiring additional federal funds. So in closing, Mr. Speaker, I want to be very clear. This legislation is intended to reduce the expenditure of federal funds. It's designed to expedite recovery. It's designed to cap the bureaucracy and ensure no more than 5% of these funds are actually going to program management. That way the dollars can get immediately to the disaster victims and stop seeing this years and years of federal government dollars being shelled out for temporary housing and temporary recovery efforts. We need long-term recovery. We need our economy restored. We need our communities restored.